call the meeting to order. Please stand for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Madam Chairman, go ahead.
No, you go.
Oh, I defer.
Right.
All right, I move that we approve the agenda.
All right. Any discussion?
No, I don't think we do.
Yeah, no?
No, we
No.
don't do a second.
Okay. And all for it, say aye.
Aye.
All against? And I as well. Okay, and that passes. Okay, public comments and agenda items. Do we have any public comment? I think we have one public person. Did anybody sign in? Okay. Okay. Okay, well, we're on to the student board member comments.
Well, it's been an exciting year. We are at the high school and middle school. We're wrapping up school. We're finishing up. Today was our last learning day. Tomorrow we are going to have field day. There's going to be games, activities throughout the school, indoors and outdoors, and we'll be able to play, have fun. I'm not sure exactly what the middle school's doing, but at the high school we're going to have a barbecue and it'll be fun. What else happened? So I'd like to report Project Citizen from Miss Lester's class, who were in here last month doing their presentation, got an excellent at state this past month on their presentation, which is
All right.
the second highest rating you can get.
Wow.
That's
Wonderful.
awesome.
And the last thing I have is we did Asb Elections, so we now have a new Asb presidency. We will have Garcia Stites president, Clayton Alberts, I think is his last name, for vice president. Those are our two new members for high school ASB.
Very cool. So is that for next year?
That they will be taking over next year, yes.
Very cool.
And is there so is that like an overall, and then are there senior and junior?
Yeah, so
Okay.
it works as you have the ASB officers, they're overall, and then under them you have
The
each
classes.
class representative or officers, and then you have homeroom representatives.
Oh, okay.
So we have it set up as a tiered system.
Very cool.
It is pretty cool, but that's all I have.
Very nice. Well, thank
Very
you
good.
very much. And we are Audrey, right? Okay. I always get Audrey. Make sure I got that one right. Excusing her today because she is out on a sport event. All right. Okay, well, then we will move on to consent agenda, and I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, and any discussion? Okey doke, and everybody for it, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and anybody opposed? Okay. And let's see, what are we on to here? Or is this the technology presentation then?
It is.
Okay,
So as you know, we've asked each department and each principal to present about what's going on in their program or their school for the year, and Clint has been saved for last, and he has a great presentation for you about what's been happening and some hopes for the future for supporting our kids.
exciting.
Welcome.
Thank you for inviting me today. Got a little presentation for you. So,
Somehow that seems fitting.
so we've had some challenges over the year. We've increased our support. We've had to add more computers to district-wide. We've got to pretty much a one-to-one. Every student has a computer in their hand. With that comes more support for technicians and more problems with computers. That adds to user frustration. Some of the computers were, they're aging, they're over 3 years old. Normally that's kind of your base point for a life cycle of a computer. We had challenges with teachers integrating into the classroom with digital versions of their curriculum, and when kids change class, they went to a different class, and getting all those things in order as well. We also, our infrastructure, being 8 years old now at the high school and a lot older at the middle school or elementary schools, that's starting to age now, and it's due for replacement. Our increased support, we added 1,250 student computers since the pandemic started.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Something.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, did you do that, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, yeah.
Did you do that right on the spot? I mean, how did that happen?
So we got a grant, so the first round of computers we bought were 500 for the middle school to deploy to the middle school. We had enough at the high school, and then we had some really old computers that we used as classroom sets for the elementary. It was more of a 3 student to 1 computer at the elementaries at the beginning. And then through the past year and a half, 2 years, we've replaced those ones and started to increase to a 1-to-1 there as well at the elementaries. The challenging part was when someone has an issue with their internet not working, or it's just has added a lot of overhead with an extra 1,250 computers. Our user frustration. So we have, our computer support at the building has been challenging. We've been trying to train the library staff, librarian, to be the first point of contact for students, so they have an in-building support, but they're limited on knowledge. So they would take a computer and they would pass it on, a new one to the student, and then leave that one there for us to fix. Yeah. And at one point in time at Hawkins, we had over 100 in a stack a few months ago.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was a lot.
To fix?
To fix, yeah.
Oh, but how severe is the fix? Is it some of it just?
So we had we think a bad batch of hard drives there. So kids would wait 15 minutes and just see the little wheels spinning. And
Yeah.
then we were trying to take it to the library, get a new one. So those were stacked up, and we did, my next slide, I think, is that we did purchase some, 600 replacement hard drives, 300 in March
Yeah.
to replace those hard drives, and then we just made another 300 purchase 2 weeks ago for the summer to replace those hard drives.
Wow.
Yeah, so the first, I'm repeating myself now, the 500 computers were purchased with the ECF funding, 600 hard drives. We did apply for the Emergency Connectivity Fund version 3. We applied for 850 computers. We have not been accepted yet for that, so we're still waiting on that announcement. We did get a grant to put Wi-Fi on buses. That was also through a grant.
Oh, nice.
So we got a grant for 30 buses, so that it'll have a device on the bus, so if they are going home, they have an extra time to use the internet until they get home.
Wow.
If they're a student athlete on the way to Port Angeles, they can do their homework on their way
Wow.
to the game.
Yeah.
Oh, great
hyper
idea.
connection.
Yeah, that's
And
fine.
it's through Verizon Wireless, so.
And the wireless is secure and,
Yeah, you'll have to have a password to get on, just like here at school, so.
gotcha.
And the last one there was classroom management. I've proposed, there's some software that I've proposed that allows the teacher to monitor all the students' computers from their computer. I think it would be beneficial to all the teachers to have that view. It even works if we go back to a remote. If the kids go home, the teacher would still be able to see what they're doing and launch applications, close applications if they're not on task.
Oh.
So
Wow.
they give them a better view of their classroom.
Very nice.
Our Wi-Fi infrastructure was aging. It was 2 variations behind. This was just upgraded. We just finished 3 weeks ago. We have all new access points. They're Cisco Meraki. That was paid for through the ECF funding as well, I believe. But our next projects are going to be network switches, battery backups, and projectors at the elementary schools. Those are,
What's a network switch?
so the network switch is, it's a transition point from when your computer goes into a switch and then it communicates with everything else. We have about, I don't have the number off the top of my head, but around 65 switches district-wide.
What's the end of life cycle? When is their end of life?
End of life is.
For
in,
those devices?
18 months.
18 months?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
And then, got some future things that we'd like to do here as well beyond this school year.
There we go.
We'd like to address the cybersecurity or lack of here at the district. Protecting our assets from digital threats. We do have some systems in place, but I feel we could do a better job at it going forward. We need to, mentally prepare ourselves for if something happens, promote awareness, and identify any security risks. Our staffing in the department, industry standard is probably 200 to 250 a person per 200, 250 devices. We currently have 3 technicians for 2,600 devices. That's overwhelming for staff, but the challenge is that the district has to follow the prototypical funding model, which is only 1.24 FTE for the district of our size.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So it's challenging.
So when you say have to, meaning that's what the state
That's
will
what the state
fund.
funds with the general ed fund.
And anything additional to
Anything
that,
else
we would have to.
We
support
are currently
a
paying
levy.
for out of levy and
Yeah.
would have to pay for more,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
And, I think there will be reason in the future to talk about a tech-specific levy
Yeah.
discussion.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then we'd like to move more towards cloud computing and get more of the zero touch and autopilot and some stuff like that Microsoft offers.
What's autopilot?
So if we buy a computer and we hand it to you, we've already got settings in the cloud that when you
Oh,
log in using
yeah.
your email address, your school email address, it
Mhm.
just downloads everything that you would need on that computer from wherever you're at, as long as you have an internet connection.
Right.
You guys don't happen to sell them, do you?
No.
Comment out of order.
Give Ann here.
So our growth strategy is going to be, phase one, we're going to try to explore some new funding opportunities. We're going to apply for Category 2 E-rate funding, and then we're going to start building out our cloud network within Azure. Not sure if everybody knows what E-rate is, but it is an FCC program that everyone pays for. On your cell phone bill, it's a little tax at the bottom of your bill, you can probably find it, and it goes for funding schools and libraries, so.
And we don't currently get any of
Oh, we
that?
do, I apply for it every year, but what you can apply for shrinks every year, it seems like, so.
Okay.
We'd like to hire 2 new positions in the future, a security position and another tech specialist to work on computers. And then further down the road, we'd like to replace our network, our security cameras, they're aging as well, network switches and projectors within the elementary school. And at some point in time, we are going to replace Skyward with Cumulative. We still don't have a date for that yet.
10 years or?
That's a ESD / OSPI decision.
Uh-huh.
Cumulative is the newer version of Skyward that is supposed to be more user-friendly and have more capabilities. Supposed to be getting closer to the initial promise of Skyward, which was that we would be able to share, if a student moved, for example, from district to
Yeah.
district, we wouldn't have to ask for records. We could put in their number and get all their records. And so it would be much more easier to support students in buildings and in some things. And we're not there yet with Skyward. It doesn't do many of the things that were part of that initial promise. So we're okay with not being the first district that got cumulative because they started a few years prior to COVID with the expansion, and really our year would have been this school year, I think, but because of COVID, the calendar got delayed. But there were some really huge glitches that had really negative impacts on districts, so they're all getting worked out. By the time it gets to us, it will actually
Nice.
work.
We hope.
We hope.
What districts, was it kind of random and arbitrary across the state who got it?
Each ESD did a schedule for how they were going to deliver it within their ESD.
I see.
And in our district, I think ESD, they started with this, the most remote, tiniest districts and are moving closer to the ESD. Because there's less pieces of it that you use, the smaller you are, for one thing, so they could get that all kind of worked out at the ESD level too.
Okay, interesting.
I think they only used the financial portion, not the student.
Right, and the place where there were a lot of problems was the student records portion. I heard from friends in Edmonds, and they were one of the first adopters. When they first put Q in, they lost all their student records, all their graduation records, everything, and they couldn't get it back. They had to go pull all the paper copies out of everything for
That's a
kids who
nightmare.
had graduated and everything, and put stuff in. It was a nightmare.
That's horrible.
So I hear that you're saying that it's going to be user-friendly, but what about transition-friendly? Is it going to be an easy transition for everybody that's using it and you?
So it's more
Making-
web-based, what people are used to now.
Oh,
And
okay.
before, it's more of a more text-based,
It's more intuitive,
Yeah.
so it should be easier
that-
to
that's
learn.
good.
yeah.
Good.
But it will totally look different and just be a totally different application. Well,
There are a lot more
Skyward is pretty
colors.
clunky. Sure, looks like.
And it's a little more graphic. It's not, you're not just that kind of bluish gray and white
Yeah.
stuff you see with Skyward.
Skyward is
Oh, we'll look forward
clunky
to
looking.
seeing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
everything you're
Could we
doing.
ask-
Questions? Absolutely.
I just wanted to commend you on your shop, and I ought to know, because I'm there often enough, but I particularly wanted to express my appreciation for Brandy, who helped me on my last problem, and for Joanne, who is my usual therapist when it comes to computers. But I've always had good service from your outfit, and I think that they know what they're doing.
Thank you.
Very nice.
And I'd just like to say, Clint and his team have done an outstanding job over the last 2.5, always, but over the last 2.5 years with all of the challenges we faced in trying to be able to support kids in creating the best that we can to support our kids and teachers in learning environments and adjusting to all of the things that have been thrown their way. And they are really an asset to this district and are doing a great job. And Clint is will in the near future have some very detailed plans to share with the board about next steps. So
Yeah, it's very clear that you're balancing a lot and having to balance those different priorities. It's really remarkable, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Just come from a student perspective. You guys in your department did great. Just come from the high school. It would have been so much harder, especially during COVID. You guys did a great job at getting the computers out, getting us all the software and technology we needed, and because that, it made it a lot easier to work through the digital learning. So thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
thanks, Clint.
That was the part where we make you blush.
Yeah.
All right. And on to resolution 05-G-22, signature authorization. And
The reason for this resolution is we're having a change in, we've had a couple changes actually, both in the finance department and in ASB. So we have different people who have to be on the accounts. And in order for the banks to have those changes in who are signatories to our accounts, the board has to pass a resolution. So that's what we're asking you to do here.
okay, so do we have a motion for that?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I'll make a motion that the Board of Directors approve and adopt Resolution 5G22 signature authorization as presented.
Okay, any discussion? We don't need a second for that, correct? Okay, and everybody for it, say aye.
Aye.
Aye as well, and any opposed? Okay, that passes. And we're on to the presentation of the 2022 to 2023 preliminary budget.
You skipped. We're at the legislative rep.
Really?
Is
Where
it?
am I?
Number
Right there,
5.
yeah.
Oh!
Squeezed on
it
the very
slipped right
bottom
up.
of the
I was
page.
pushing it and it went right to the next screen and I totally missed it. I don't want to miss that one. So we have a legislative representative for WASDA. And it's every year that we put it up for someone else, and I'm currently the person.
It's actually every 2 years.
Is it every 2 years?
Yeah, 2
Yes,
years.
2 years.
Well, it felt like a year, but COVID, so the COVID year. So it is up now, and I'm not going to do it again, but I would like to nominate Arla for that position. And I completely forget how we do this one, so remind me.
Do you accept it, Arlie?
I
You wanna
do,
it?
yes, we've
Okay.
had a discussion, yes.
Okay, there's no discussion from me. You can have it.
Okay, and then we
I think
go
we do need an
roll
action.
call, right?
Yes.
That way, so, and it's just for the board members, so, John,
Well, I think that Arla is exceptionally well qualified for this. Particularly, I think her newspaper background has made her familiar with the workings of government, and this is a very important position to which that background will be good. And I wish her well and have her my total support.
so John Campbell for Arla Shepherd.
Yes, and by the way, I'm voting for it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Leanna Krotzer for Arla Shepherd, and I just wanted to comment, I absolutely think that that you'll have a good time with it. And it's a note down here.
Thank you.
Eric Youngberg for Arla Shepherd.
Thank you.
Laura Bode for Arla Shepherd, and I hope you can manage it with 2 little ones.
I know. It's a lot to manage, but, no, I think this is good. Thank you.
Yeah, would you like to vote for your, no, you don't have to. Okay, so Arla Shepherd is our new legislative representative for WASDA. Yes. Very good. I did not bring a whistle, so here we go. All right, and we're on now to the preliminary budget presentation for 22-23. Forward and backwards.
So I'll present on the preliminary budget for 22-23 school year. Please keep in mind this is a preliminary budget, but it does give an overall review of where the direction the district's going. So starting off with enrollment, just looking at the last 10-year history, this year we are budgeting our student enrollment at about 2260. That's about a 15 FTE increase from prior year. And then next slide, looking at staffing. Same thing, we'll look at the 10-year history. For this upcoming school year, 22-23, we are budgeting about a 157 FTE for certificated staff and about 116 FTE for classified staff. And then looking at the different funds, we'll start with general fund. Our beginning fund balance, we are projecting about $4.4 million. And then our total revenue, we are projecting about $40 million, with our total expenditures of $40 million, including the transfer to the debt service fund to pay off our debt. We should have an ending fund balance of about $3.2 million is what we're budgeting. And remember, this is also based on the fact that we are maximizing different grants opportunities and sticking within our budget parameters for the current year. And then capital project fund, same thing. We are anticipating a beginning fund balance of about $300,000. And with our revenue of approximately $10,000 and approximate expenditures of about $200,000, we should have an ending fund balance of about $110,000. And just remember that these expected expenditures will be dependent upon, again, revenue received to support the project. But we did build in the capacity in case there's any type of emergency repairs or anything like that. Our debt service fund, again, this one's pretty straightforward. This is used to pay off our voted and non-voted debt. But our beginning fund balance is anticipated to be about $2.1 million, and our total revenue we're anticipating $2.6, and we are budgeting about a $3 million expenditure, so we should have an ending fund balance of about $1.7 million. And then transportation vehicle fund. This is only for yellow buses. Nothing can be expended except for yellow buses. So our beginning fund balance is about $339,000. We're anticipating a revenue and other sources of about $256,000. I built in the capacity for expenditures of about $500,000 in case something goes wrong or we need an extra bus or two. So the expenditure is there for capacity, and if that's the case, we'll have an ending fund balance of $64,000. And then last one, Associate Student Body Fund, your ASB fund. This one's pretty straightforward. Our revenues come from things like clubs, any type of athletics events, fundraisers, and expenditures are basically anything you can think of that has to do with culture, athletic, recreational, or social. And they have a pretty healthy fund balance, starting at $431,000. Revenue, we're anticipating about $350,000 is what's budgeted, and then expenditures about $366,000. So they should also have a fund balance of about $415,000. And that was the last slide. If anyone has any questions.
I do. Back on the staffing slide, I would assume that all of those numbers are actual up until the projected staffing. Is that correct?
I say that again, Laura. I'm not quite understanding your
Okay,
question.
so all of those years prior to 22-23, are those actual?
Oh, yes, correct.
Okay,
Correct.
so
I grabbed
you're-
them. Yep.
So you're then budgeting 16 additional classified FTE for next year?
I see what you're saying.
Classified,
Yeah, so
yeah.
we're putting in the capacity for
The
that.
capacity,
Yep, a lot of
okay.
it will probably be like support staff, secretarials, custodian. things
Right,
like that.
right,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, at what point, I know I asked this, Dana, to you one-on-one, and now I can't find my email, but at what point do we see a more detailed breakdown?
That's the August board meeting
August,
when you,
okay.
when you see the complete budget and you
Yes,
approve
okay.
it.
This is just the overview.
This is
view,
just
and we
the
got
preliminary
the-
budget.
Okay. And we got the priority list in the last meeting, is that?
I think it
or
was
a couple
April.
meetings ago,
April, yeah.
okay. So I did notice, so our enrollment FTE, we're expecting it to basically be back to pre-pandemic.
Not quite.
levels.
We're still a little flat with our projection that we're budgeting for.
Yeah.
In the July meeting, I anticipate, or August, I anticipate being able to share with you the final report from Flow Analytics that, remember, a few years ago, they did a mock demographic study for us. Things changed because of COVID, so we commissioned another one to help us do some future planning and look at some of our future building needs. So that report, I got the preliminary report and talked over it with their analysts and answered some questions so they can make it stronger
Work on it.
before we get the final report. In that report, the high, medium, and low projections for next, or the low projection for next year put us at 2271, and the high projection for next year, based on all the things that Flo is looking at, the building, et cetera, put us at 2316. So if that comes in at the high end, we will be back to where we were prior to COVID. We were at 2315 on the October 1st report in 2019. But, you know, things are still very uncertain because of the impacts on schools and communities, so that we're not writing our budget projections for kids that we don't have registered yet.
right.
So that's why our number is at the lower end of that projection.
So
Does
those
that
numbers that you just mentioned, were those head count numbers?
Those are FTE numbers, but those are projections.
Okay.
Does that include the home link as well?
That would include all students
All of it,
registered in
okay.
North Mason School District.
So everyone but Running Start, if you were fully
It would
Running
include
Start.
Running
It
Start
does.
kids.
We're
because
still
we-
registered in the district.
They're still registered in the district as some portion of FTE.
Okay.
That's nice. I have a question.
But we don't know that. That's, best case
Yeah.
would, next year, we would hit it, you know, at the lowest level, we'd hit it in 2 or 3 years, so.
Yeah.
Do we have specific grant writers, or is that something that you do,
No.
write the grants?
That's something my ad team does, myself,
Oh.
Dan, well, this year, myself, Lisa, and Tom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So a collective.
Mhm.
Okay, very cool. Very cool. Okay, so we are on to
You can.
the superintendent update.
I think we're.
And, oh, are
doing
you?
more?
She's still talking.
Sorry. No, I was
She-
just telling Dan. I've been getting him transitioned into this position and everything, and training him on all of this. So he's actually going to do the Forecast 5 reports for you guys.
Awesome.
Yeah. so,
Okay.
yeah, if you-
I am not trying to jump forward. Okay, seriously. She's like, do you have any questions? And I'm like, we're on now.
Yeah, hi. I just want to thank Viet-An for, she's been spending some time with me. It's been really great, training me to be prepared for the position that I'll be transitioning in ultimately on July 1st. So I'm still the principal at Belfair Elementary, but I'm trying the best I can to learn
Like
as much
15 more days.
as I can before you. So, and she'll help me out tonight too if there's any questions I can answer too. So we're going to start with the other funds, budget status. The budget status for other funds, beginning with the capital funds. You can see there for the month ending May, the end of May, we were at $400,441, which is an increase of about $127. For our debt service fund, our ending balance was $2,171,000, and that's a difference of about $236,000. And for ASB, our ending fund balance at the end of May was $423,635, which is about a $2,000 increase. And for our transportation vehicle fund, we ended with $339,868, which is a difference of about $100. So we'll be moving on to our enrollment status. You can see that our end of May enrollment was 2,245 students, down about 7 FTE. And our average FTE for the year is 2,250. And then going into our general fund revenues, on the top there, on the top left, you can see, and we'll go across, our total revenues for the year we projected, we'd be at 76%. And this is for the period ending May 31st, so we projected we would be at 76%, and we were at 75.5, so pretty close. Our local sources are actual year-to-date, and here's where it might look a little interesting, was at 774%, and we had projected 730. And that's kind of a temporary, you'll notice that kind of unusual percentage until we do a budget extension begin soon. So it looks really inflated right now. Our state sources.
Dan, if I can interrupt for a
Yes,
second,
please.
just so they're not wondering. The reason that it looks like that is when we wrote our budget in the fall, we could not write our budget to include the levy.
Right.
And so that's why Dan will be presenting a budget extension.
For state sources, our actual year-to-date was at the end of May at 70%, and we had projected we'd be at 71. And our federal sources, we had projected we'd be at 66.7, and we were at 63. And then moving down to the top 10 sources of revenue, you can see at the top our apportionment was the #1 source of revenue there, where you can see the cursor. So our apportionment was $14.7 million. And also note that our local property tax was $2.1 million. And then moving over to our revenues by source, comparing our prior year-to-date to our current year-to-date. Looking at the local, you can see they're about the same. Our revenues are about the same. Our state revenues slightly higher this year compared to last. And our federal, you can see it looks like a big difference there, and that's due to ESSER funds primarily. So we're going to go on to the next slide, to our general fund expenditures, ending May 31st, beginning on the top left. Our projected year-end balance is, budget expenditures is about 12%. That's our projected year-end balance for our general fund. And our total expenditures year-to-date, so we have projected 73.6%, and we're at 71.6%. And for salaries and benefits, actual year-to-date is 74.75, and our projected was 73. And our basic ed actual year-to-date is 67, and we have projected 71. And then moving down to our top 10 expenditures by program. Our basic ed is our largest expenditure, and that was at $12.2 million. And then note that our ESSER 3 expenditures were at 1.3 in the May.
What were those ESSER 3? What's an ESSER 3 expenditure?
A lot of those are in people, in
Okay.
positions that we added or are supporting with the ESSER dollars that are specifically to support student learning or student learning recovery.
Gotcha.
Some of the previous ESSER dollars, most of ESSER 1 was in one of that first batches of computers that we needed to get kids going one-on-one when we were closed for COVID. And then ESSER 2 was a combination of other supports needed, stuff in buildings to support kids or computer type things or additional staffing
Thank you.
Mhm.
So moving over to our expenditures by object, comparing prior year to current year. If you look at the first three, actually, are salaries and benefits. So you can see our salaries for search are higher than last year. Compared to the year before, though, pretty similar. Classified, you can see the increase there. And, we had more staff this year. I think it was what explains that. And our benefits also are slightly higher than last year, but compared to the year prior to that. And we're moving on to the next slide. This is where we look at our general fund month-end balances for the period ending May 31st. And you can see that top dash line, that's kind of where we are right now for May, for the month of May. The fund balance was $3.8 million. And you can see over August there, our projected end balance for the end of the year would be $4.45 million. And you can see also that the trend is comparable to previous years. And finally, our last slide here, we have our general fund financial summary. And if you look in the table on the right for total revenues, our current year-to-date total revenues are $26.4 million, and our annual budget is $35 million, and that's 75.5% of our budgeted revenues. And then for total expenditures, our current year-to-date is $26.6 million of the budgeted $36.7 million, which is 72% of our budget. So with that, if you have any questions, I'll do my best, or Vietnam will help me out.
So those red numbers that are on here, will they be gone by the end of the school year?
They will not. That is part of the projection, and we knew that because that's how it was budgeted and how it was in previous years. So part of it is we do dip into fund balance, but the important part is that we will maintain that 8 to 10%.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
but
you.
that is pretty common, also common throughout all other Washington school districts, especially as we know how our funding model works too. Unfortunately, schools do have to dip into it. But again, with proper control and strategy, we do maintain that 8 to 10%.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So we've used 75% of like our revenue, or
Yep.
72% of our expenditures for the school year.
Exactly.
Well, it's
So far.
school year or
Um,
through August?
It's-
or-
Yeah,
Through- yeah.
fiscal year, so yeah, August 31st.
Fiscal year, okay.
School year, same thing, yeah.
Yeah, the budget year starts September 1st, so it
Okay.
doesn't align with,
The school year,
Yeah.
but almost.
well, but it's a 12-month
Mhm.
budget
True,
year.
true.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. All right.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice work, guys.
Yes, you did very well, and you seem very comfortable up there, so.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to the future.
And this is Viet Ann's last board meeting, and she actually had 2 board meetings today. She also attended her first board meeting for her new job at the ESD
Oh, wow.
earlier this afternoon.
Wow, nice.
Congratulations again to you.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we wanted to do some updates on are some of the things that are going on around our campuses to keep students safe. So, we talked with our kids from Mrs. Lester's class, and they had some great ideas and suggestions, and the board was very interested in those. And we are pursuing the cost and the feasibility of some of the things that they suggested. The one thing we can do right away is increase the number of times that buildings do the ALICE practices, and that there's not really additional cost to that because we already do the training with all of our staff and pay to be a part of that organization so that we can continue to train students. So that piece is, we've already discussed with building leaders, and that we expect to see that calendared by trimester next year.
Do our elementary students take
Yeah,
this
our
training
elementaries also practice.
3 times a year too, or they will, or?
Well, the recommendation was for the secondary kids to practice
Okay.
3 times a year. coincidentally, at Dan's building, you know, the same week that the tragedy happened in Uvalde, they actually had their Alice practice drill that Friday, didn't you, Dan? And students didn't.
Schedule, I believe, for the following day, but we just put it off a day or two.
And staff and students did an excellent job.
Absolutely.
So, you know, frankly, Belfair is our most challenging building for safety. Well, Sand Hill's a close second, but in Sand Hill, they don't use all those outside doors as often, and they, you know, it's easier to get people, staff, and everyone to keep them locked, but we are reminding all staff that all classroom doors that are on the outside need to be locked. Our secondary campuses have fewer entrances, and that's a design difference that happened since 1991, since Columbine, that schools are now designed differently, and as we address those needs and build new schools in the future, our elementary schools will look more like that as well. Another design change that came as a result of Columbine was the double entrances that we have at the main entrances at our secondary buildings. We kind of have that by default at Belfair with that lower entrance, and I know that the principals at Belfair are making some changes in which classrooms use those spaces at the lower entrance closest to the entrance next year, which will be better for student safety. And so that is, I think, overall, that's a good thing. So we do have the locks. All of our doors are locked and should remain locked throughout the year. And principals are responsible for working with staff to remind them and students, and so that those things aren't violated. Also, we have the system, I forget what it's called, when Clint left, but we have a security system that when people come in and want to visit the building, that it takes your picture as you're at the receptionist desk and does a nationwide check to make sure that you don't have any law enforcement reasons that we wouldn't want to allow you anywhere in our buildings or near our students. And we get an immediate alert, and the principal gets that alert, and I get that alert, and the person at the desk gets that alert. So we have that in place as well. We also had, as you know, this year hired 2 school security officers, and we were not able to hire them till mid-year. And once they started, we immediately saw many of those concerns that we had very seriously through January with some of our student behaviors decline. And as those 2 folks built relationships with kids, so it wasn't just about being big and scary, but it was about being there and being present and working with kids and helping them feel safe at school. And so we're really glad that we have those employees in place, and they are our employees rather than working for, in the past, as you know, we've had somebody who might have worked for us through a security company, and we also had a school resource officer, but the expense for that, the expense and then the amount of time that we got to have the school resource officer didn't line up as well, so it made more sense to have our own employees. I will say that we have been approached by the county with, we're going to have a discussion about adding on top of the work that we're doing there, some potential resource officer support that will not be a cost to the school district. So I've been approached by that, but we don't have firm information yet, so we can't really say anything, you know, that's going to happen until we talk more with the county. But it's very exciting to think about another level of support being a possibility. And so those things are in place for kids. Schools are required to do drills for all kinds of emergencies, and you have a drill per month during the year. You're required to do at least one lockdown drill, at least one fire drill, at least one earthquake drill. And then the other months can be any combination of.
You need a fire drill every month?
Well, you can do these instead of fire drills.
Okay.
Yeah,
Drills.
yeah. So, and in Washington, it's an earthquake drill. When I lived in Florida, it was a tornado or hurricane drill, so, you know,
Yeah.
it's just based on what natural disaster you might have. Another thing that is really powerful for our district several things. Another thing is we have a really strong partnership with the first responders, and we meet monthly with the heads of all of the fire and law enforcement that support our schools in our district, as well as DEM, Department of Emergency Management, has started to join us again because they have some new personnel in place, and they are working on strengthening their work throughout the county and their support of other government entities like us. So that's really, really important work. For example, we've worked together with North Mason Fire Authority and our other fire, Central Mason Fire 3, to develop what we have to do if we have to evacuate the building's plans, and they're very, very end with the sheriff's office. So we have a very cohesive plan that everybody, all of those people know what is in our plans, and we all work together on those. And the fire at North Mason Regional helped us work with a partner at the airport so that for a secure place that we would reunify kids with their parents if we needed to. And we are just signing that MOU so that will be in place. And so we're really excited about some of those partnerships. Another thing that we are working on with all of our first responders is becoming a site or I don't know what we call it, but it will be another partnership between us called Handle with Care. Handle with Care is a nationwide movement, and what it does is when we are working together as a group, whether it's fire or sheriff, if there's an emergency event that any of our students are involved in, and or for reason that they would want us to know that we might need to give that student some extra support during the day, they will notify the district so that we can make sure that the appropriate people, that it's still very confidential information, but for example, the counselors might know that that student needs some extra wraparound. They wouldn't tell us all the details, that's not our business, but they will tell us, this student had something happen and they need some extra care and support during the next several days. And so we're really excited about that we're going to be communicating better about that and able to support our kids in that way. So there are many other things I can tell you that we are doing. Oh, I guess the one that's really important for you to know about too is we have been a leader in the region in a lot of this work, and especially in partnering with our first responders. But one of the things that we have also done is made sure that we have really good supports for our kids when they are in crisis and struggling in different ways. So we have very strong partnerships with multiple agencies throughout our community that provide mental health and counseling support for our kids. They work together when necessary. They come to our school to serve the needs of kids, and we give them referrals when needed to, and our partners are really good at being as available as quickly as possible when our kids need their support. Another thing that we do is we use a nationally vetted protocol for assessing the risk that a student might present to themselves or others when they're in different kinds of crises. So we use the risk assessment protocol to help us determine what level of risk that child is to themselves or others at that point in time, and then how we can support them. And then if the risk is serious enough, there's a second level of risk assessment that we do with partners through a process at the ESD that ensures that we can get that higher level of support to that child before they might do something that hurts themselves or someone else. So those are some of the things that we do.
Thank you. I have a question about you said the technology where it will take a picture and alert. Is that already in place?
Oh yeah, we've had that for about 6 years now. There's one right at the front desk. We can show you on the way out
That's
tonight.
fascinating. Yeah. Does it, and then staff, like the receptionists, they have the training on what to do if it is.
Yes, if it, yeah.
Bad, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Push the button and the page comes down around you.
And we do not have that technology yet, so, anyway, so yeah, and it's a very cool tool, and sometimes it's it's not as big a deal, but it gives us something that we know we have to ask somebody about, so, and sometimes it
has
is a
gone
bigger
off
deal.
and It has alerted us to
Yeah,
some
it sends
issue.
me a text,
Interesting.
principal a text or an email. So, yeah, so that we know immediately. I will get it and it will say, there's a person at the desk at Sand Hill or at Belfair or at Hawkins, and so.
And it will give you details.
Then I call
on-
and I say, what do you know,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me.
Go ahead.
Well, I think you've already answered this, but I just wanted to make sure. So with respect to how we compare in security preparation with other schools, we are above par.
We are working really hard at it. I don't think we compare ourselves. We all need to be ready. And we all need to be ready every day for anything that might happen. So I don't think anybody can afford to not be at that level.
Yeah. Good answer.
Yeah, I just would like to add one thing about having a potential resource officer in the school. I love having the guys that we already have, Scotty and Ricardo at the middle school and high school. They've done a great job. We had a lot of behavior problems and fights in the past, if you guys probably heard. Ever since they've shown up, that's gone down drastically. They've developed great relationships with the students. They know them by name. They know who they are. They have conversations about their life. And it's just this really cool thing because ever since that started happening, we've had such a decrease in behavior, trouble in the hallways, trouble in parking lots, and it's made the school a lot safer place. But I would still like the addition of a resource officer potentially in the future, because if someone was to come in armed or something with whether it's a weapon, a firearm, or something else that could potentially cause trouble, there's as of right now, there's not a whole lot they could do. I would feel much better having a police officer who's armed, who's trained, and who's protected for this to intervene. And even if they're not there just all the time, it would, or helping if with behaviors, just having them on hand or there on speed dial will do a lot more and make it a lot safer. Along with this ALICE training that they talked about will definitely be a big help. I know it's been a while since I've taken the training. I need to get refreshed and recertified in it. And we did do a lockdown drill just the other day at the high school, and we have special measures in place. So we have these little sleeves that go over this little metal part over the doors right here. So the doors can't be opened no matter how much force is used. You'd have to break down the doors. So our administration team has done a great job of stepping up that level of security, especially ever since what happened in the middle school a couple years ago. It's been a lot safer, and it's a lot harder for anything to happen, which brings comfort to not just me, but I've noticed other students throughout the district. So thank you.
Awesome. You're welcome. Is it possible for, like, the next ALICE training in the fall, if, like, board members can attend? And
Yeah, the majority of the ALICE, the actual training is now online. The class is online, and yet Clint can give you access to take the training.
Yeah.
And then we practice, we do a drill at the school, which is what the
Yeah.
kids have asked us to do.
So
I would be interested in both.
As a student, do you actually get qualified, or you get like a qualification, or you get that training?
You get the training.
Oh,
Yeah, you
okay.
get the training.
That's really cool, though. That's
Qualified current is probably a better way to say it.
Yeah.
You're current in the training,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, you're just.
But that question reminded me, the other thing that we do that is above and beyond many districts is that we require all of our building leadership and our district, all of our admin team to take both ICS level 100 and either 300 or 700, which are the Department of Homeland security trainings for dealing with active shooter events and other emergency events. So all of our administrative staff has received, or if they're new, will receive that training before the first day of school next year. And that's something that we've required since 2014 when I arrived.
Yeah, I've had to take active shooter training for the hospital, and it's just something we do these days. And I think for any of us, if we happen to be in a building with students at a time, you just never know, so.
That's right.
I have a comment. I've been spending a good deal since the last disaster. I've spent a fair amount of time online looking up everything I could about shootings, and read New York Times articles and articles that they give you a little link to other things. And so I've checked a number of, different sources. I mean, I'm not prepared to make a formal report with statistics and this kind of thing. What I've heard this evening corresponds with everything that I've read about what needs to be done. So I find that very reassuring. And of course, as I've mentioned more than once, I was there when we had a lockdown. What strikes me is this is such an important issue. And this discussion this evening, it seems to me, has been really thorough and well-focused, including your comments, which I thought were particularly reassuring. I wonder if it would be advisable, I certainly would like, if we had some kind of document, a little report just on this section. What is North Mason doing to make our schools safe? And if the information we had this evening were simply broken down, either bullet points or short paragraphs, I think that would be important for me as a school board member. If anyone ever asked if our schools are safe, I would like to have a kind of an, I won't mention the metaphor I have in mind, but it would be a very rapid response, and I would have a full clip of.
Basically a white paper.
Yes, that's the dignified term.
Well, and actually, we could put it on the website,
I was
too.
thinking that too, something on the website for parents to see and just.
What we're doing.
Like Amanda's breaking notes right now, so.
My second to all that, I mean, we might have some uses for parents, because one of the key enemies that we face, as one of my sources put it, is truth decay. And we all know that rumors and all this kind of thing spread rapidly.
Yeah.
And I think if we had something in place, so if this question comes up, we have every board member. I mean, of course, we refer things to the administration. We can't take time for that. Yes, we have done everything that.
Here's what we've done.
Yeah, that can be done.
Yeah.
We are, maybe some point of comparison or something like that. And I think by having it, if we had something like that calmly in the course of orientation to a school, passed out to the parents, so as not to, we're scared spitless about this. We are reasonably and in a very clear-eyed way prepared for the worst. And given this country, it is not improbable that the next one would be here. So I just think that it would be very useful for a board member. It might be useful for the schools to have a record. I mean, it could be taken right from the video. I mean, a lot of it could, but something written up that would be available to board members and anyone interested. I think it would be useful for us to be informed, and I certainly would recommend whoever has the next school board letter. I think this would be an appropriate thing to focus on.
Thank you.
Well, I can't think of anybody better qualified to write this.
If you so choose, right? Well, that is would be a really cool thing to have, like a link to say, oh, here's this, and share it as many times as we could, actually. That would be really neat.
Yes, as a matter of fact, and then on our Facebook or on when you plug into North Mason Schools,
Yeah.
to have some really obvious link to this.
On the front page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Sounds like
you know,
that.
it might serve as a deterrent. I mean, you know, the wickedness is very inventive, so we never can tell about that. But I think that by having it displayed prominently when you call up North Mason Schools, that would be a good signal to the public and might help squelch any rumor before it began.
There you go.
Thank you.
That sounds very thorough and like a good idea to have something on there. Very good. And were you talked about the safety update?
I just did the safety
Okay.
update. I did include a link there in the board packet to the information on the WASDA Fall Conference. This year's will be in Spokane. There's information for the board members, so you can look at getting that on your calendar and talk to Jackie about your availability, et cetera. It is really the only professional development training that boards have, other than the conference that some of you are doing online this week. And it's really an important piece. So make sure you had all the dates and information.
This will be Eric's first one.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
Is-
so they fly us over there.
Well, right now it's cheaper to fly than to drive to
That's
Spokane.
certainly true, yes.
Is
I'll
there
be
a-
driving a couple days ahead to visit with my family before someone passes on, so.
Is there a deadline for, like early bird or whatever?
Yeah,
Oh, I
Jackie,
guess.
all of that's on that flyer,
I
and then
see,
you can
okay.
talk with Jackie about it.
We will vote on it in July's meeting if they want to attend and to change our board meeting.
Yeah, and change our November board
Sure.
meeting.
Before, so we'll vote on it in July. So this is just for you guys to take a look and
Get it on our calendar.
I have before I move on, quick question. So this is open for school directors, student board representatives, and superintendents.
We do
Will-
invite our student reps to go if they're up to date in all their coursework and everything, and their parents allow them to go.
Okay, that's great, thank you.
Yes.
And I suspect that we would have brought that up at our next one when we were
Yes.
getting ready for that.
Yeah,
but
just
yes.
wondering, thank you.
Yes, something to look forward to. So, on to our upcoming board letter columnists, which we just talked about, Arla being the next one, and then Eric, and then John, and then myself. I'm very terrible. And Laura. Eric,
Bless you.
being your first one.
Excuse me.
I think finding someone that would be willing to be a good mentor, to kind of give you a layout of,
Right.
you know, a topic and kind of how it goes, and you can see all of our.
just talk to.
Yep, and you can see all of our
Yep. I've
letters
been
on there.
reading them.
And you probably have.
Yep.
some. Okay. All right, and then assurance of organizational performance and policy review. And we are at, let's see, E4, school engagement. And then I am beeping underneath me. There we go. Okay, and this, I'm not going to read the big blurb there, but this is the monitoring report for school engagement. Let's see. And then I entertain a motion for that? Okay.
Madam Chairman, I move that we find the superintendent has complied with all the requirements in E4 school engagement.
Okay.
Do we find her in compliance?
In compliance. balance, okay. And any discussion on that?
I just wanted to note that I appreciate the detail, the level of detail in, with data and numbers that was added onto the report. Seeing as how the monitoring reports are, you know, this is through policy governance. We're not directly involved in the work that the superintendent does. This is our way to hold her accountable, and so I really appreciate when they're as detailed as these are. Thank you.
Here, here.
Well, and I'm really excited to see that there is just as much emphasis placed on participating in art club, robot club, performing arts, music, as there is in sports. So I'm glad to see that all of those things have been offered for students to be able to take advantage of that.
Yeah, the one thing that was really exciting to get to talk about this year in this report was the Bite of Reality and Career Fair Day. That was the first time. We had a mini one a couple of years ago, but this was the first full-size event that our Chamber of Commerce did in partnership with our high school team, and it was amazing for kids, and we're looking forward for more growth next year. They got to do some speed interviewing, and they got to work with a pretend budget and figure out if they only made this much, how they're going to pay rent and the electric bill. And so all of that was really good for them, and they were very excited about it. And our community members were so impressed with our students and their civility and kindness and respect that they showed throughout the process. So that was wonderful.
Wonderful. Okay. All right, and any other discussion on that one? Okay, I'm not hearing any. All voting for it, say aye.
Aye.
And aye, and all opposed. Not hearing any, that passes there. And then the next one is the E1 district mission. And, right, yep, district mission. It was so short that I thought I was missing something.
Yeah, we don't do a monitoring report on this one, but it's been a few years since we've addressed our mission, and that was part of the reason I asked some of the board member or all of the board members to take a look at, those of you who could, attending the policy governance and mission, looking at your vision and doing your strategic planning through our policy governance process training. Because I think that one of the things I will be recommending to the board that we do at the start in the fall and throughout the school year next year is engage our community in a strategic planning process to update what we're looking at and how we're looking at what is effective in our schools. And we haven't ever had the opportunity to do that within our policy governance process, and I think that would be really exciting as a way to engage people. So I'm looking forward to that conversation later.
I think they will be too. Okay. And so I don't think I entertained the motion to approve that, the E1.
No.
Okay.
Just
We don't have to do that for both of them?
We already did the E4, and E1 doesn't require a monitoring report.
Oh, okay. Oh, right.
I
I'm
think-
sorry.
There's just
My
no
brain's working
report,
today. Okay, so, and then we, moving down to the policy review, we have none because we didn't have any before, correct?
I have got a comment. I think this point has been addressed, but I think it's worth discussing. I was going to suggest that we have something that would be, I had in mind some language such as, has the superintendent taken every reasonable precaution to keep our schools safe from the next mass shooting? I think we've addressed that in the earlier one. The question I would have is, do we need to give something like that a more prominent place in our policies? Because I don't think one would ever guess that we had this great policy with that kind of emphasis where it is. Now, I'm not necessarily,
This-
I'm asking for a
I think it's a really good point, John.
Okay.
I think that is, but it's not on the agenda right now. And
Oh,
maybe
okay.
it's something that we could put on the agenda for another
Okay,
meeting.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's
No, I
fine.
didn't.
Yeah, no,
I meant
that's fine.
to just, I thought that was a place where we put it
A
in.
policy
and
review
so, okay,
discussion.
Next
Yeah.
time it comes around,
And I think we do have a student safety
We do, but we
policy.
do have that policy.
Yeah.
That's, I would have to have Jackie look at the calendar
I
to
feel like
say
we
what month
recently
we
did
review
that.
that.
yeah, look, I'm satisfied, particularly, I mean, I was satisfied before because I've been there, but I'm just kind of on super alert with this. And if we might decide, something this important shouldn't be hidden in the way we do business.
Right.
And so that might be in future.
I see why you brought it up.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you mean. Okay. All right, I scrolled all the way down and then I'm going all the way back. There we go.
We're at adjournment.
We are at adjournment, and to the good of the order for the board and superintendent, anything for the good of the order?
Oh, I'm sorry. Was somebody? Oh.
No.
I'm just really pleased that we have 3 excellent additions to our admin team. Raymond Bennell, Jessica Collins, and Amber Nygaard. I think that they will be, because they have been here and they know this system and they know the students and the community, I think they're going to be an excellent addition, so nice job there. And high school graduation was really fun.
It was.
And even with the rain in between, and everybody got their clear plastics, I mean, those kids were so prepared, and that's thanks to Chad and his team. So if you could tell Principal Collins that he just did an outstanding job on
I
that.
will do that.
I agree.
Just need a tent next year. Eric, do you want to go?
Yesterday I attended the promotion, 5th grade promotion at Sand Hills. I thought that was spectacular. Went really well. It was nice seeing how they had set it all up, how the kids were going through it. I thought it was just great. The whole thing was just wonderful. So really commend Ms. Nygaard and Mr. Swayzer for all their efforts there.
Awesome.
Here, here.
That's,
I just want to add mine. This is almost a religious service for me. I've been doing these things in my previous job for decades. I thought it was fun and dignified. And I think those two things really need to go together. I think the seriousness of the occasion is very important because this marks a milestone in our students' development as persons and as citizens. And it's a time when the community recognizes them for an achievement. And it's also fun.
graduation.
The leis, the decorations that the students had. This year, there were not as many odd or extreme costumes as there has been in years past, but I thought that was very good. And I wanted to commend Dana and our principal for excellent presentations. I thought Dana gave a very good, enthusiastic and informative presentation at that time. And I think our principal did the same thing. It was kind of a sense of fun and energy that he exuded. So I was very glad to see that. And it was always good, I think, for us as a board to be there before the public and to award these people the mark of their passage. So I was very pleased with the whole event. And I actually love the post-graduation thing. If you mill among the crowd and see the various ways people are, the various things that they wear, and the pride with which people take pictures, I always think these are lessons, that this is all part of a mode of government, in which you're not being supervised and which you're free to express yourself, you know, in the context of this. So I enjoyed the whole thing, and I thought it was very well done.
Thank you for taking pictures during it, John, too. The pictures were very nice. I also attended graduation with the rest of the board. It was lovely. It's my favorite. I second everything you've all said. I also really appreciate that the graduation team selects student speakers beyond the valedictorian and class president, because it just adds a different flavor. And I can't remember his name, but his speech, the student speaker, I was just crying. So I am good choice, and we should definitely keep doing that. I don't have anything else for the good of the order.
Okay.
I'd just like to write in on that. It was an administration decision to award that slot what was the name of that slot?
I believe it was Miguel, I think. I don't know his last name, but I believe his first name was Miguel.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the position itself.
name of his position.
You know,
It
there's
just says it's-
valedictorian, there's, you know, et cetera, et
It was
cetera.
just
What
a
did this,
student-
what
he was a
do we
student
call
speaker.
this?
Speaker.
He was just
There's
a speaker.
This, yeah, we
There
had
was-
that, we've had that one.
Yeah, the
Before.
students selected speakers as
Yeah.
well, so, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just thought that was splendid, because it made a statement. This isn't all about, come on, people are envious of those people who get 4.0, 3.5, you know, have the special braids and all the rest of it. Here's a man of the people. Man, this was something right out of Horatio Alger. I mean, this is not a myth. You know, people like this have these old-fashioned values here, and here is a living example of it. So I think the administration needs a special shout-out for a very wise decision to have this, and I think we need a name. If I may make a suggestion, it ought to be the.
Okay.
There we, all right, I'm gonna throw one in there. I'm just going to jump on the, being at the graduation, and when we get to, my favorite part is when we get to pick our rows and the people in the row. Elora up front with her guide dog. I've watched her grow up, so that was really awesome. But watching Laura, of course I'm gonna cry because I'm a wiener, but watching Laura hug your granddaughter.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
cried so hard that was the warmth that was keeping me together up on that stage. And I only regret that I did not stand over you with the picture so that you had one.
I know, I
right
thought
there.
about
But
that
it
too.
reminded me that I want to stay in the position so I can hug my child walking across there if he gets through this. But it was very exciting, and that was probably, I'm going to remember that hug for a very long time. So that was very good. And so you've added yours
Yes.
in, or you're
Well, it's not a fact.
That's
The other thing that moved me.
John, let's have Morgan
It's-
speak.
yeah,
It's
Morgan's
fun.
been,
Morgan,
he's
you-
been itching over there.
Okay, well, all I was gonna say is sorry, I did forget to talk about graduation. Yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to being down on that field next year, which
Here,
is
here.
kind of scary to think about. I don't want to,
We'll
but
be here.
I'm also looking forward to it
We'll
at the
fight
same
over who
time.
gets your row.
We'll see. But so that was fun. We did something that ASB did is I was helping with it. That's why I was there in the middle school. Is we were interviewing any willing seniors with advice that they wanted to give to our 200 upcoming freshmen that will be joining us at the high school next year. We'll put that into a little video and play it for them at freshman graduation, not graduation, freshman orientation. And then we took some videos, we took some pictures of graduation. We even had a drone flying over to take some pictures and video. So
Wondered about that.
yeah, so ASB is taking all that and compiling it into a graduation video for
Wow.
seniors in the community. And that should be done hopefully in a week or so,
And we
so.
could post that on the, yeah,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, I'll definitely send it out,
That's
yes.
exciting.
That is exciting, very
Okay.
much so. Okay, thank you, Morgan and everybody. So the board self-assessment is at Mr. Campbell,
Oh, for heaven's sake.
for heaven's sakes.
Well, okay, for those that don't know, this is part of our policy governance in which we assess ourselves. To what degree have we abided by our own rules, and we have them. The agenda was well planned, focused on the real work of the board. I would certainly say that was satisfactory. The board allowed its agenda, did not allow itself to get sidetracked. There was one interruption at the wrong time, but the board member that did that was corrected, so I think it works out well. The board members prepared for and contributed to the meeting. I think everyone did. The meeting proceeded without interruptions or distractions. There was one little bit of heckling, I think, with respect to the technology presentation, but that didn't take long. The board's deliberations and decision-makings were public, you bet. Participation was balanced, all participated, no one dominated. Members listened attentively, avoided side conversations. Workers conducted an atmosphere of trust and openness. Meeting participants treated each other with respect and courtesy. I certainly think that we're satisfactory in all of those criteria. This one is not so relevant to us. Yes, our actions occur at the policy level rather than the operational level. We're always discussing about policies. We never interfere with the actual running of the school. The board reviews policy about each topic before discussing that issue. I think that's true. In writing additional policies, the board starts with a broad, well, we haven't rewritten any policies. The board minimizes time spent monitoring past performance. I think that's true. The board routinely dedicates time to reviewing and improving its own process. I think that was illustrated several times this evening. The board clarifies priorities, values when considering potential outcomes, beneficiaries, and costs, et cetera, et cetera. I think that we had several discussions that touched on that. And we certainly follow a calendar. The chair helps the board efficiently conduct its meeting. I certainly think that was the case. The board spends most of its time deliberating issues, defining and clarifying its visions, and linking with its community as opposed to fixing things. I think our discussions illustrated that very well. The board supports the superintendent in any reasonable interpretation of its policies, and I think that was illustrated this evening, so I give us a yes on governance principles review and overall a satisfactory evaluation of our meeting.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Okay, so our next board meeting date is, hold on, I'm gonna put the eyeballs on, July 21st at 6:30 here in the boardroom. And we will be excusing ourselves to an executive session for 30 minutes for the superintendent's evaluation. There will be nothing, there will be one action of the outcome when we come back out, but that will be the last thing. So if you'd like to stick around for that, it'll be 30 minutes. And then we'll be back. So, adjourn. I will,
the letters all stamped or something?
no, not adjourn. Reconvene. Reconvene. I did that last time. Okay, we're reconvening the meeting. And I will entertain a motion to approve the superintendent's evaluation and extend contract for an additional year.
So moved.
Okay, any discussion?
Good idea.
All right, and everybody for, say aye.
Aye.
Aye as well, and any opposed? Not hearing any? We are finally through that, and thank you, and congratulations, and thank you.
Thank you.
Dan, I have a question about you mentioned that August 25th is our school board meeting, but that's not.
Is it not, well, that's what.
Is it a Wednesday?
It's
Oh,
the
that's the
fourth
fourth
Thursday versus the third.
It's not the
Thursday.
Thursday.
Oh, so it's not.
Oh, it's not a board meeting, okay. The
Yeah,
ladies
it's the
today
week
told me
after.
they were worried that it was during our board meeting.
Oh,
But we
okay.
can remind each other at the meeting about that, because
I know,
I mean
because I
that,
don't
because
think
you'll
I-
have to remind me.
Yeah.
I think I
Okay.
can't go to that board meeting.
Okay, and we did that
And we
and
don't
all of
do it.
that, and I am adjourning this meeting.
Yeah, I think you did that.
No, I
Oh,
didn't.
okay,
I
sorry.
Hey, good
reconvened.
job.